Picture investing $100 billion in a new market, staking your entire fortune on a future you're confident will arrive. The stakes are high, the pressure is monumental, and the world watches. That was Ford's bet on electric vehicles. But what do you do when the future you wagered on does not materialize as anticipated? In this video, we're breaking down Ford's $100 billion bet on electric vehicles, how it all went wrong, and why their iconic legacy is now in jeopardy.
You're going to lose about $3 billion this year.
Stay tuned for the shocking truth behind Ford's EV disaster. July 24th, 2024. Ford executives face a room full of angry investors and frustrated analysts. The news is not good. Ford has recorded yet another earnings miss, and its stock has just hit a 2008 financial crisis low. And to make matters worse, the company is under a record $103 billion in debt. The reason? Their now dashed electric vehicle EV gamble has not panned out. While Ford has been investing billions in EVs, their stock has plummeted and their profits have shrunk. Investors are wondering about the $100 billion plan that was to shape Ford's future. How did it go so wrong for Ford, the builder of America's most iconic truck, the F-Series? Was it the swift transition to electric vehicles? Or was the market for electric cars simply more complicated than Ford thought? Let's dive in and see. The big push into electric vehicles. Ford's EV journey started, as with other automakers, slowly but deliberately. In the early 2010s, Ford was one of the many companies watching Tesla rise, but not taking the EV market seriously. But by 2017, when the world of cars was evolving at lightning speed, Ford dove into the EV pool with Team Edison, a new group dedicated to studying and creating electric vehicles. In 2019, Ford took its first major step by introducing the Mustang Mach-E, its first all-electric vehicle in more than 50 years. The Mach-E was a statement, not just for its appearance, but for the direction of the company. With its sleek design and potent electric motor, Ford hoped the Mach-E would establish it as a contender in the EV space. This was a huge leap for an automaker that was most famous for its gas guzzlers. Critics adored the Mach-E, raving about its handling and new tech, but Ford was not done. The real game changer was yet to come, the electric F-150 Lightning. This was Ford's opportunity to electrify the heart and soul of the company, the legendary F-Series trucks. In 2021, Ford showed off the F-150 Lightning, the electric sibling of its #1 bestseller, the F-150. It was a genius notion. Take that truck, which for years on end was America's favorite, and convert it to electricity. They were counting on bringing all their regular buyers into this category as they boldly led America toward the age of electricity. The financial commitment. $100 billion bet. Ford didn't merely wet their feet in the electric vehicle world. They made an enormous investment of $100 billion to remake the future of the company. It wasn't a matter of designing a few new models or slapping on some technology updates. Ford opted to transform their business model from the ground up by doubling down on electric vehicles. This transition was epical for a firm that had established its reputation for more than a century on gas-powered automobiles and trucks. The objective was to position Ford as a leader in the transportation of the next generation, but the future was far from assured. They were not only investing in electric vehicles themselves, but in the whole system of infrastructure required to enable them. Ford laid out a whopping $11.4 billion on 2 giant battery factories, taking more power over the crucial technology that drives electric vehicles. They also invested $2 billion in an EV plant in Germany, which showed they were serious about competing on the world stage. On top of that, Ford invested $50 billion in 2022 alone to scale up EV production and R&D, with the hope of becoming a serious player in the market, alongside Tesla and other electric vehicle manufacturers. It was a bold bet on the future of the auto industry. Initially, Ford's plan seemed to be working. The Mustang Mach-E and the F-150 Lightning were attracting buyers as well as praise from critics. The F-150 Lightning, an electric rendition of America's top-selling pickup truck, proved to be a success among hardcore truck lovers who wanted something environmentally friendly, but not at the expense of its performance. At the same time, the Mach-E confirmed Ford could make a high-tech, stylish electric SUV that was competitive with the best. The numbers were promising, and for a moment, the future of Ford being electric looked rosy. But as good as the beginning was, reality soon caught up. Ford's overall vehicle sales reached nearly 2 million units in 2023, but just 64,000 of them were electric, only 3.2% of total sales. Ford had invested $100 billion in EVs, but the payback wasn't happening quickly enough. Worse, Ford was losing money on each electric vehicle sold. During the first quarter of 2024, their electric vehicle segment reported a loss of $1.3 billion, with each electric vehicle running its business at approximately $130,000. Ford had bet big on electric vehicles, but the economic reality was that this wasn't panning out as they had anticipated. The reality of EV sales: big bets, small returns. Ford's electric vehicle sales were growing, but not at the pace the company had hoped for. In 2023, Ford sold nearly 2 million vehicles, but only 64,000 of those were electric. That's just 3.2% of their total sales. While that's still a positive step, it's a far cry from the levels Ford had envisioned when they decided to invest $100 billion in the electric future. What's worse is that Ford was losing money on every EV it made. The company posted a loss of $1.3 billion in Q1 2024 for their EV unit alone. Each electric vehicle Ford sold cost the company about $130,000 in losses. This wasn't just a small problem, it was a huge financial burden. And Ford's expenses weren't stopping there. They were sinking billions into EV factories, battery plants, and production facilities, yet the revenue from electric vehicle sales was barely moving the needle. Their entire electric vehicle division was bleeding money. The $5 billion loss, Ford's EV nightmare. By 2024, Ford was losing $5 billion in its EV segment, and the outlook for 2025 was no better. This wasn't a short-term problem, it was a profound financial crisis. As it turned out, Ford's $100 billion bet on electric vehicles wasn't panning out as they'd dreamed. So what did Ford do? They began cutting back. In their 2024 earnings report, Ford announced that they would decrease their EV investment from 40% to 30% and cut back on the production of the F-150 Lightning. The company was compelled to reassess its strategy. Ford had bet the farm on electric cars, but the world wasn't quite ready to go all in on them at the volume they were hoping for. With increasing losses and increasing competition, Ford had no option but to change its strategy. The question was now whether or not they could hang in long enough to get it right. The quality control crisis, a hidden disaster. But Ford's woes didn't end there with their investments in electric cars. The company had been fighting major quality control problems for years, and it was finally coming back to haunt them. In 2020, Ford recalled more than 700,000 vehicles for defective rear-view cameras. As of 2023, recalls had increased to 37 and affected over 2 million cars. Recalls in those cases involved life-threatening problems such as faulty airbags, electrical and failing brakes. Additionally, Ford was fined $165 million for failure to recall automobiles promptly. Their warranty costs, which were already high, increased from $4.8 billion in 2014 to a whopping $11.5 billion in 2023. That's an enormous amount of money that could have been spent on new technologies, enhancing quality, or covering the losses of their EV unit. The bottom line, Ford was not only losing money on EVs, but also on repairing the blunders they made with their gas guzzlers. It was a vicious cycle that could spoil all their hard work. The investor confidence crisis. Ford's stock price was in absolute freefall by 2024. While they were growing strongly elsewhere in the business, investors were losing confidence. Their price-to-earnings ratio reached an all-time low, indicating that the market had lost confidence in Ford. To reverse the position, Ford was investing billions of dollars in EVs, but the payoff wasn't coming quickly enough. There were quality problems mounting, Recalls were expensive, and the company was struggling to win back the confidence of consumers and investors. What's next for Ford? Ford's $100 billion bet on electric vehicles has been much riskier than they expected. With rising losses, tough competition, and an uncertain market, the company now faces a crossroads. Ford can't lag behind electric vehicles. They've already lost too much money on it, but they must reconsider. Money going into electric cars alone will not be enough. They must consider sustainability, profitability, and quality control if they want to succeed in the future transport world. So what does the future hold for Ford? Can they wean themselves off this crisis, or will their $100 billion gamble turn out to be one of the largest business blunders in history? What do you guys think? Can Ford bounce back from this huge setback? Or is this the end of the road for one of America's most iconic brands? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this in-depth look at Ford's woes, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more. I'm Hari, and I'll catch you in the next video.